Milly Molly Mandy and Dum Dum. Once upon a time, Milly Molly Mandy was wandering past the big house down by the crossroads where the little girl Jessamine and her mother, Miss Green, lived, only they were away just now. There was always a lots of flowers in the garden of the big house, so it was nice to peep through the gate when you passed. Besides, Mr. Moggs, little friend Susan's father, worked there. He was a gardener, and Milly Molly Mandy could see him now, weeding with a long-handled hoe. "Hello, Mr. Moggs," said Milly Molly Mandy.
Mandy and Dum Dum. Once upon a time, Millie Mandy was wandering past the big house.
"Hello, Mr. Moggs," Milly Molly Mandy called through the gate softly. Softly because you don't like to shout in other people's gardens, even when you know when the people are away. "Could I come in, do you think?" Mr. Moggs looked up and said, "Well, now I shouldn't wonder but that you could." So Milly Molly Mandy pushed open through the big iron gate and slipped through. "Isn't it pretty here?" she said, looking about her. "What do you weed it for, when there's nobody to see?" Ah, said Mr. Moggs. "You learn it doesn't do "Ah," said Mr. Moggs. "You learn it doesn't do to let things go, in a garden, or anywhere else. Weeds are all such like. They get to thinking they own the place if you let them alone a while." He went on scratching out weeds, so Milly Molly Mandy gathered them into his big wheelbarrow for them. Presently, Mr. Moggs scratched out a worm along with a tuft of dandelion, and Milly Molly Mandy squeaked because she nearly took hold of it without noticing. Only she just didn't. "Do you like worms?" asked Mr. Moggs. "No," said Milly Molly Mandy. "I don't." "Ah," said Mr. Moggs. "I know someone who does, though." "Who?" asked Milly Molly Mandy, sitting back on her heels. "Old Dum-Dums are very partial to a nice fat worm," said Mr. Moggs. "Haven't you met old Dum-Dum?" "No," said Milly Molly Mandy. "Who's old Dum-Dum?" "You come and see," said Mr. Moggs. "I've got to feed him before I go off home." He trundled the barrow back to the garden and emptied it on the rubbish heap, and Milly Molly Mandy followed, carrying the worm on a trowel. Mr. Moggs got a little tin full of grain from the tool shed and pulled a lettuce from the vegetable bed. And then he went to the end of the garden. Milly Molly Mandy was found following. There was a little square of grass, fenced off with wire netting, in which was a little golden gate, and in the middle of the square grass was a little round pond. And standing at the edge of the little round pond was looking very solemn, hunched up in his feathers, was Dum Dum. "Oh," said Milly Molly Mandy, "Dum Dum is a duck." "Well, he's a drake, really," said Mr. Moggs. "See the little curly feathers on his tail? That shows he's a gentleman. Lady ducks don't have curls on their tails." He leaned over the netting and emptied the grain into a feeding pan lying on the grass. "Come on, quack quack," said Mr. Moggs. "Here's your supper." Dum Dum looked round at him and at Milly Molly Mandy. Then he waddled slowly over on his yellow-webbed feet and shuffled his beak in the pan for a moment. Then he waddled slowly back to his pond, dipped down and took a sip, and stood as before, looking very solemn, hunched up in his feathers, and with a drop of water hanging from his flat yellow beak. "He doesn't want any supper," said Milly Molly Mandy. "Why doesn't he?" "Feels lonely, that's what. He misses the folk up at the big house. They used to come and talk to him sometimes and give him bits. He's the little girl Jessamine pet." "Poor Dum Dum," said Milly Molly Mandy. "He does look miserable. Would you like a warm Dum Dum?" Grow a garden gamer. Hello.
Hello.
He came waddling over again and stretched up his beak, and down went the worm, snip snap. "Doesn't he make a funny husky noise? Has he lost his quack?" asked Milly Molly Mandy. "No," said Mr. Moggs. "Gentlemen ducks never talk so loud as lady ducks." "Ha ha ha!" quacked Dum Dum, asking for more worms as loudly as he could. So Milly Molly Mandy dug with the trowel and found another, a little one, and threw it over the netting. "Do you suppose worms mind very much?" she asked, watching Dum Dum gobbling. "Well, I don't suppose they think a great deal about it, one way or the other," said Mr. Moggs. He dug over a bit of ground with his spade, and Milly Molly Mandy found 8 more worms. So Dum Dum had a quite good supper after all. Then Milly Molly Mandy leaned over the wire netting and tried stroking the shiny green feathers on Dum Dum's head and neck. And though he edged away at first. Seems 3 people are watching. Hello. And though he edged away a bit at first, after a few tries he stood quite still, holding his head down when she stroked, and as if he rather liked it. And then suddenly he turned and pushed his beak into Milly Molly Mandy's warm hand and left it there, so that she was holding his beak as if she was shaking hands with it. It startled her at first, but it felt so funny and cold. "Ah, he likes you," said Mr. Moggs, wiping his spade with a bunch of grass. "He's a funny old bird. Some he likes and some he doesn't." Whoever watching, please message something, just anything. Who is the second person? "Mr. Moggs," begged Milly Molly Mandy, still holding Dum Dum's beak gently in her hand. "Don't you think I might come in sometimes to cheer him up while his people are away? He's Do you like reading?" "Don't you think I might come in sometimes to cheer him up while his people are away? He's so lonely." "Well," said Mr. Moggs, "I don't see why not, if you don't go bringing your little playmates running around in here too. Look, I'm not about you can get in by the side gate there." And he showed her how to unfasten it and lock it up again. But mind, I'm trusting you, said Mr. Moggs. Milly Molly Mandy promised to be very careful indeed. After, after that, she went into the big house garden every day after school to cheer up poor Dum Dum. And he got so cheerful he would run to his fence to meet her, saying ha 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 ha. Directly he heard her coming. She used to go into his enclosure to play with him and pour water on the earth for him to make mud with. He loved mud. One day, Milly Molly Mandy thought it would be nice if Dum Dum could have a change from the narrow run, so she asked Mr. Moggs if she might let him out for a little walk. And Mr. Moggs said she might try it if she watched that he didn't eat the flowers and vegetables or get out into the road. So Milly Molly Mandy opened his little wooden gate, and Dum Dum stepped out on his yellow feet, looking at everything with great interest. He was so good and obedient, and he followed her along the garden paths and came where she called, like a little dog. So she often let him out for that. He turned over stones and things for him to hunt slugs and wood lice underneath. Sometimes she took him in the front garden too, and showed him to Billy Blunt through the gate. One morning, Milly Molly Mandy was very early for school because the clock at home was fast. At first, when she found no one round the school gate, she thought it was late. But she found it wasn't. She found it wasn't. She knew why little friend Susan hadn't been ready when she passed the Moggs cottage. So, as there was plenty of time, she thought she'd go and visit Dum Dum before school today. So she slipped in by the side gate and found him busily drying his feathers in the morning sunshine. He looked surprised and very pleased to see her, and they had a run round the garden and found one slug and 5 woodlice, which Dum Dum thought was very tasty for breakfast. Then she shut him back in his enclosure and latched his little gate and shut the side gate and fastened it as Mr. Moggs had shown her, and went off to school. And she only just wasn't late this time. Well, they'd sung the hymn, and Miss Edwards had called their names, and everybody was there except Billy Blunt and the new little girl called Bunchy.
What is the joke?
And they had just settled down for an arithmetic lesson when the little girl Bunchy hurried in, looking rather frightened. She told Miss Edwards that there was a great big goose outside, and she dared not to come in before because she thought it would bite her. A goose, said Miss Edwards. Nonsense, there are no geese around here. And Milly Molly Mandy looked up from her exercise book quickly. But she knew she had shut Dum Dum up carefully, so she went on again, dividing by 7, which wasn't easy. And then the door opened again, and Billy Blunt came in with a wide grin on his face and a note in his hand. It was from his mother to ask Miss Edwards to excuse his being late because he'd had to run an errand for his father, and who had no one else to send. And who do you think came in with him, pushing between Billy Blunt's legs through the doorway right into the schoolroom? It was Dum Dum. Billy Blunt, said Miss Edwards. What is this? I couldn't help it, ma'am, said Billy Blunt. He would come in. I tried to shoo him off, but I don't really think he had tried awfully hard. You mustn't let it come here, said Miss Edwards. Turn it out. Sit down, children, and be quiet. Because they were all out of their places, watching and laughing at the duck that came to school. Oh, please, teacher, said Milly Molly Mandy, putting up her hand. Who do you think came in with him?
No idea.
Sit down, Milly Molly Mandy, said Miss Edwards. Take that duck outside, Billy Blunt. Quickly now. But when Billy Blunt tried again to shoo him out, Dum Dum slipped away from him, farther in, under the nearest desk, and Miss Muggins Jilly squealed loudly and pulled her legs up onto her seat. Please, teacher, said Milly Molly Mandy again. Oh, please, teacher. He's my duck. I mean, he's a friend of mine. What is all this? Said Miss Edwards. Be quiet, all of you. Now, Milly Molly Mandy, explain. So Milly Molly Mandy explained who Dum Dum was and where he lived, and that though how he had got out and found his way here, she couldn't think. Please, teacher, can I take him back home? I can't let you go in the middle of school, said Miss Edwards. You can shut him out in the yard now and take him back after school. Shh. So Milly Molly Mandy walked out to the door, saying, Come, Dum Dum. And Dum Dum ran waddling on his flapping yellow feet after her, all across the floor, saying, Ha, 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 as he went. How the children did laugh. Billy Blunt said, I'll see that the gate I'll just see that the gate's shut. And he hurried outside too, lest Miss Edwards should say he needn't. He tried to stroke Dum Dum as Milly Molly Mandy did, but Dum Dum didn't know Milly Molly Mandy well enough. He opened his beak wide off, trying he opened his beak wide and said, Huh, at him. So Billy Blunt left off trying and went and shut the gate. He must have some water, said Milly Molly Mandy, because she knew ducks are never happy if they haven't. So they looked about for something to hold water, other than the drinking mug. And Billy Blunt bought the lid of the dust box, and they filled it at the drinking tap and set it on the ground. And Dum Dum once again began taking sip after sip, as if he had never tasted such nice water before. So Milly Molly Mandy and Billy Blunt left him there and hurried back to their lessons. Directly school was over, the children rushed out to see Milly Molly Mandy lead the duck, Drake I mean, along the road back to his home. It wasn't easy with so many people helping. Mr. Moggs was just coming away from the big house. But he went back with her to find out how Dum Dum had escaped, for his gate was shut as Milly Molly Mandy had left it. And they found Dum Dum had made a little hole in his wire netting and pushed through that way and under the front gate. So Mr. Moggs fastened up the hole, and while he was doing it, Milly Molly Mandy noticed that the windows were open in the big house and the curtains were drawn back. Oh, said Milly Molly Mandy, have the people come back? They're coming tomorrow, said Mr. Moggs. Mrs. Moggs is just airing the place for them. Then I shan't be able to come see and then I shan't be able to come and see Dum Dum anymore. Then I shan't be able to come and see Dum Dum anymore, said Millie Molly Mandy. And she felt quite sad for some days after that to think that Dum Dum wouldn't want her anymore, though she was glad he wasn't lonely. Then one day, what do you think? Millie Molly Mandy met the little girl Jessamine and her mother in the post office. And the little girl Jessamine's mother said, Mr. Moggs tells me you used to come and cheer up our old duck while we were away. Millie Molly Mandy wondered if Miss Green was cross about it, but she wasn't a bit. She said, Jessamine's going to boarding school soon. Did you know? And she was wondering what to do about Dum Dum. Would you like to have him for keeps when she has gone? And the little girl Jessamine said, We want him to go to someone who'll be kind to him. Millie Molly Mandy was pleased. She ran home to give father the stamp. Millie Molly Mandy was pleased. She ran home to give father the stamps she might have been sent to buy and asked the family if she might have Dum Dum for keeps. And mother said, How kind of the Greens. And father said, He can live out in the meadow. And grandma said, It will be very lonely for him. And grandpa said, We must find him a companion. And auntie said, You'll have to save up and buy another one. And uncle said, I've been thinking of keeping a few ducks myself down by the brook. Your Dum Dum can live along with them if you like, Millie Molly Mandy. Millie Molly Mandy was very pleased indeed. The next day she hurried out to the big house to tell the little girl Jessamine and her mother, and they let her take Dum Dum home with her at once. So she led him slowly by the shortcut across the fields to the nice white cottage with the thatched roof. And he followed her beautifully all the way. In fact, he walked right over the step and into the kitchen with her. And when Uncle saw him following her about, he said, Millie Molly Mandy had a duck and its little head was green, and everywhere that Millie went, the duck was to be seen. Yes, and did he follow? Yes, and he did follow me to school one day, like Mary's little lamb, said Millie Molly Mandy. And do you know, old Dum Dum didn't want to live down by the brook with the other ducks. It was too far from Millie Molly Mandy. He chose to live in the barnyard with the cows and Twinkletoes the pony, and drink out of Toby the dog's drinking bowl. And whenever the garden gate was undone, Dum Dum would waddle straight through and make for the back door and knock on it with his beak, till Millie Molly Mandy came out to play with him. So, yep, second chapter has ended. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.